presentation of Igor, a quick note on why I think it's important also to write such unit tests. The unit test where you are extremely tautological, it makes you learn how PHP unit is working, and there's a lot of functions that are poorly documented. So if you learn how to do this, you'll be a better developer, I think. But you don't need to commit it. So, about the presentation, managing orders with flow. The point of this presentation, so that's me first, Félix Delval. That's my Twitter handle if you want to write me. The whole point of this is we'll be talking again about multi-source inventory and exactly how that fits and how this affects the order flow in general. So the first question that we'll look is, why do we need multi-source inventory? This is slightly overlapping with Igor's presentation, so we'll go fast over that. We'll look how this is working at the moment in MSI, in Magento Commerce, and then we'll look a bit at how we implement it in the order management, and we'll spend a bit more time on this. So firstly, multi-source inventory, the way it comes from, it's from this omni-channel movement. And exactly what is omni-channel? Well, it's everything and nothing, really, when you think about it. But because it's different for every industry. If you're working for music, if you're for closed retail, if you're selling MP3, it's completely different. But the one thing that's important is that the customer experience is the same whether you are online or offline. So in the end, if you start putting all of the inventory you have on sale, whether it's in your warehouses or in your store, that's the first step to omnichannel. That's the first one that you can take. So it's pretty good for MDC to have that now embedded once this is released in 2.3. We'll see that also if you start doing this, two big questions that start to rise of inventories. Like the first one is, so you get a source, you've got two sources, you've got multiple sources. So a source is a place where you have stock, whether it's physical, whether it's downloadable, whether it's any place that can fulfill orders. And multi-source inventory answers to two questions. So how much is available in that source? So in a store, in a warehouse, or in... And the second question is much more important, which, how much can I sell? Because it's really what the front end is supposed to be. It's got a number, and it's no, I get to sell that much. And with multi-source inventory, what you really can do is separate those two concerns from managing pure inventory and managing numbers of quantity that you can sell. So in the old time, we had one warehouse for all Germany and one warehouse for all UK, and we had one website connected to the two of them. And then our merchant got a bit bigger. Now the German warehouse was also selling to Italy, France, or whatnot. But really starts to get interesting once you say, okay, now I've got my stock in my main street shop, and I would like to start selling it also. So that's where we start to need this new concept of aggregation. In MSI, they call it stock directly. So stock and stock item, and those one would be source and source item when we're referring to the entities. And we need this new abstraction to be able to get a reference point and to be able to name them. Because as you can see, as in the past, a website or Italy or Germany could be connected to the same warehouse in the same way, then this same stock can be connected to the multiple thing. So that's the concept of aggregation. So it brings two questions. It's like, now that we've got these new things, which is sum of stock with different rules, is first one is, how do we calculate that stock and at what moment and how? And the second one is, what's the best way to select from which source is going to be shipped? Because now that you have two possibilities, you are just deferring the decision, which was in the old time, well, if we have just one warehouse, everything that comes will be shipped there. So let's look a bit at how it is solved at the moment in Magento Commerce, or open source also. That's, I don't know if anybody's familiar with that diagram. It's from the dev docs, and that is the state machine representing all of the states of Magento Commerce. So you've got a cart, you put it into placement, order placement, and now you get a new order. Following his life until completions, at some point you make an invoice, at some point you ship it, you can get refunds, but that's pretty much what you expect of the normal vanilla flow from MDC Commerce. The interesting point is now, where do you think it's affected, in which part of that flow is affected with those new multi-source functionalities? Well, the answer is both at the beginning and at the shipment, because when you have a cart and you turn it into an order, you need to account for that order to make sure you will not oversell. So that's where the reservation of the multi-source inventory coming from. We'll be looking more into that. And the second time, that's at the order shipment time. So when you're doing the shipment, at that very moment, you're deciding whether you're using an algorithm or you're doing it manually. I want to ship that much from here and that much from here. And only at that moment will you really be able to decrement the stock in the sources. Is that clear until now? Very good. So that is a new page from MSI. That's the source selection page. So once you've placed an order into MDC and you've done the checkout, so as we've told before, the reservation has been created. And now you're ready to turn your order into a shipment. So this page, pretty much what it does is it shows you, so you've ordered test simple product 2 and test simple product. You've asked for 2 of this one and 10 of this one. And you'll be able to say, okay, this is from the warehouses which have stock, the stock that they have and their name. And here you'll be able to choose exactly for your shipment, for this one shipment, how much you will be able to deduct. So the interesting part here is not only that you can manually choose it, is that this little box here, the source selection algorithm, it's one of the very interesting points of extension that MSI is bringing. This is where you can plug your algorithm to be able to decide exactly how you will source this order. So by default, it's by priority. So every stock, every aggregate has a list of sources which are ordered by priority. So Germany is more priority than Poland, then probably more priority than Ukraine. Let's not get into politics there. So by default, that's why the 2 goes here. But you could also choose another strategy, because your sources in MSI, they will also have a location. So like zip code and a country. In fact, that's the mandatory information. So you could also be deciding that the sourcing algorithm I want to select will be by distance for closer, because sometimes, I don't know, it doesn't really apply for Europe, but in some countries like the United States, you've got a huge country with zone. It's much cheaper to send from California to California than from New York to California. So like distance might make sense. So here you will be able to implement your own source algorithm specification to fit your needs. By example, like some of our customers that we're using, they've got crazy needs. Like typically, they say, by default, they do by priority and by distance. So first priority and then distance. But also they've got rules that if it's a VIP customer and he spends 100 euros, then we might be able to ship it anywhere from a source that's not directly under his name. So typically, like you're a UK customer, very VIP customer, you spend 100 euros, but it's not available in Europe. So maybe the company will make something different and send it to you from the United States anyhow, even though it's more expensive for them, just to be able to please you. So how the stock is handled, so that's already been talked about by Igor, so we'll go quickly in there. So let's say that you place an order for quantity 1 of SKU 1, and you've got 2 sources, 1 with 7 in your main warehouse and 3 in the main street store, so a physical brick and mortar store. So the order is placed, we receive a reservation. At the moment we do nothing except that. So the order is in the database as an order, the reservation has been reserved. So if you go and get your stock, the sellable stock here will be 10 minus 1, 9. Now you go through the source selection pages, you select everything, and you decide how you want to make the shipment. So let's say that for one quantity, the one with the most priority, probably the warehouse, because it's cheaper to send from the warehouse than it is to send from a brick and mortar store. So what would happen in the same transaction, at the same time, we would deduct 1 here from the source stock table, source item table, and we will create the reconciliation reservation. So I guess that's pretty much clear. But what happens when you have a more complex case? Typically, if you want to buy 8 of quantity, well, in that case, you're able to do that the way you would split. And that's why it's very important for us to have the concept of reservation here, because you are deferring the decision of where you're going to be able to ship it from. But you still have the assurance that, because it's transactional, that you will not oversell your product. So I'd like to spend a bit more time on the reservation, because I'm going to explain a bit how we are processing them in the order management. But first, I will explain you, well, that's not very important. I will explain you how the order management works. So I guess, is any one of you familiar with the order management here? Vadim and Igor, very good. So let's make a mind experiment. Close your eyes. Think you're in a world of commerce. So sorry. And you've got your front end right there, your Magento front end, and you come with a katana, and you cut everything that's after checkout. So what you have now, you have a capable front end of taking orders, but it doesn't do much more than this. For us, from the order management perspective, everything that is after checkout will be taken care from the order management. So when it comes to back order, to risk, to payments, to sourcing, so what we talked about deciding to which make the shipment, to actual shipments. So once we decided where we send it to, we still need to make the communication with the SAP or whatnot platform that the merchant is using, sending messages and managing those things. Return and return. So roughly, an ecosystem would look like this. You don't need to understand much more things. The order management doesn't do anything without the front end. It's a SaaS platform. The good thing is that you can connect it to many Magento Commerce instances, typically like, I don't know, you might have one for Europe, one for US, you might have different type of brands, you might have different setups, and you can connect also to it many warehouses and many stores. So that's where we go back to the multi-source part. So between Magento Commerce and the order management, really when the order is placed, so placing orders, so we create a reservation inside of MDC. Until now, nothing has changed. The only thing is that now, because we've cut everything that comes after checkout, we send a message. So we won't get too much into detail what the message is, but it's HTTP message, JSON RPC, payload in JSON, with all the information about that order. So we can create it on our side and start doing all of the management. And once we do all of the little management of like making sure the payments are valid, making sure that there's no problem with risk or anything, we start sending all of the status update to the Magento. So those are updating directly in the order status table. So if you're interested in expanding onto, if you're interested to know when something has been shipped, when something has been canceled, when something has been declined by a source, picking or packing, in case you're using this kind of reference point, you'll be able to use the status directly in the order management. And at the end of everything, when everything is either shipped or canceled, so when the order there's no more action to be taken upon it, we send a last message, which is the customer shipment done. So there we make the list of everything that was shipped and canceled and to where. And this, in the end, replaced the source selection algorithm that there was in MSI. So when you work with, in the future with MSI and MCOM, the source selection page will be disabled, and we will do it directly through the API, creating the shipments and everything. So we said that there was some process on the side of the order management, and that's the process that we do normally. So I won't talk about payments, I won't talk about risks, that's very specific, but the most basic extension point is this one. We decide to where we want to ship the order, and we send a message, please ship that order, for which the logistics service provider, so it's the warehouse, it can be a website sending MP3 to customers. It can be also websites sending like tickets for concert or anything, or just even a store. Can answer to two things. Either it will ship the lines or it will cancel the lines. It's not atomic, so you can ship 2 and cancel 1 if we're sending you 3. And all of those, of course, will be, as mentioned before, sending through line updates. So if you look at the whole process from together, you place an order in Magento, we create the reservation here. We send the order create, we receive it in the order management, we do all of the process and cleanup that we need to do, and send the shipment request to the source, which will reply by shipped, or actually read cancel here, please, and for which we will send the order updated. So really, like, the reason why we send the updates, because as I told you, we've cut with the katana all of everything that's after checkout from the MDC, is that the customer that bought something still want to log in the back office and see the status of of their thing if they have an account. Maybe some of the customer service agent they're using this give information to the customer. So it's important that both systems keep in sync. So all the logic stays in there now, but all of the status are down here. And of course, we're still finished by the customer shipment down, so we can create the shipments and the invoice in Magento and put the order to complete. As mentioned, you can also have a bit more complex scenario, like everything that's in store. So in store, you'd be expecting people to actually get the shipment request, so please send this, and then go actually physically move inside of the store and start picking all of the objects that they need for different orders, put them in a little box, passing it to a colleague, and then taking those items to put them in actual shipments, packages for all the different customers. So all of those messages, they go sent in a way of order updated messages, and they will be at line level available in the MDC instance, so you can send emails or whatever is important for your extension point. So the last point I wanted to make was about the reservation. So the reservations, we've talked about them in commerce, and we've got the exact same principle in the order management. It's an interesting point because we did not talk about that. We talked about all the business part, the logic, the rules, but really we didn't talk about the implementation when they implemented this and when we made the implementation. And us too, we have the exact same concept because we are sending the stock directly to the Magento instance, so the commerce instance. We, on our side, also have the sources created with the stock and also have those stock and stock item, which we call aggregate on our system. And in the exact same way, when we receive the order we create a reservation because we don't know to which source we're going to send it. Even though we know a bit more than commerce, we still don't know. And once we decide to which source we do, the exact same way we remove our reservation because now we know to which source, but because we don't yet have the answer from the logistics service provider, we also create a reservation at source level until we finally find out what it's going to do with it. Is it going to ship it or is it not going to ship it? Because this will affect the front end, and we want to make sure we don't neither oversell nor undersell. So that's pretty much the integrality of the information I want to provide you. What I think is important that I would like you to take out of this talk is that I think MSI is a great step in the direction for Magento. That's available now in the front end. If you have ever got a project that gets a bit bigger, it will be easy to migrate to order management. Everything will be working fine and smooth. It enables a lot of very interesting scenarios. I believe that if you are interested in that kind of scenarios, please contribute. It's very easy. I'm not a Magento developer. Apart from being an employee, I've never developed Magento extension or Magento code. And I have a first pull request on it. I'm very proud of it. If you have... Thank you very much. So that's pretty much it. If you have more information, just talk with me whether on the email, fdelval@magento.com, on my Twitter account. You get more information about the order management here. And there's also a talk that I gave about more technical detail of the order management at Manchester, Mage Titans in Manchester. Thank you very much.
Thank you.